Hey y'all, and happy holidays. It's Nisha the Soul Magi, and I'm back again with another video. Okay, so if you are in the United States and you celebrate colonized holidays, you know what today is. It is Thanksgiving, right? And so, what does that mean? What are you doing? What are you doing? You hear that? You know what that is? The sound of peace. See, I play too much. Oh my god, I think that's the frankincense. Ooh. Okay, that's what I get for laughing like a hyena all the time, but who cares? Okay. I got a couple of long form questions I want to answer today. 2 questions I got asked. That reminds me, I need to text one of my clients. 2 questions I got asked today so far is, how do you honor your boundaries on? Can you hear me? How do you handle your boundaries on holidays? Now, what is the first thing that I'm going to tell you that I tell you guys in every video where I've ever mentioned a boundary? If you haven't been here long, I'll repeat it, but y'all should be saying it in the comments below. It's nobody's job to respect your boundaries except for you. Nobody owes you to respect your boundaries. Literally. So that means you have to care about yourself enough to say no. You have to care about yourself enough to say, you know what? I'm not going to engage in this. You have to. Nobody has to respect your boundaries. It is a courtesy, not an option. Now that I'm off that soapbox, let's talk about it. Because that's the question I got asked the most is, what do you do to honor your boundaries? First of all, you got to figure out what they are. Then you have to figure out why you put them in place. Why did I put this in place? Is it so that I don't get this angry anymore? Is it so that I don't feel X, Y, and Z anymore? What is it, beloved? What is it? Okay. And then we have the third thing, right? And that is, what do I want my relationship to be with this person going forward? Maybe you want your relationship to be a happy, healthy parent-child relationship, one where you can maybe not fully respect them for whatever reason, but so that you guys can coexist at family dinners. Maybe you want closeness. Maybe you want respect. You got to figure out what it is that you want in the relationship. That's not our job here. Secondly, I want you to think about am I engaging in this relationship in a way that I'm proud of? Are you reacting? Or are you responding? All right. All right, y'all. I'm back with the second part of the video. And the other thing I would say as we are identifying boundaries, it's important for us to clearly communicate those boundaries with ourselves. So you need to have a plan. If you know that you're not good at saying no, because some people think that boundaries just means telling people no, and you're going to be in for a literal rude awakening if you think that you can show up and you haven't been practicing your no's. You're going to be not liking what you get. Because again, other people don't need to tell themselves no. They were clear about what they wanted to do when they did it. Okay? Especially if they did something to you. We'll say that. Whether it's like commenting on your weight, any of those things. People were well aware of what was acceptable to them. You have to be aware of what's not acceptable to you. So if you have not practice saying no to yourself or not engaging in certain things, I would kindly suggest you to do that, right? And some of us are not good at saying no. So if you are not good at saying no, then I encourage you to look at it from a less emotional place and look at it from logical, right? I just actually don't have the emotional capacity to handle such negativity, right? So, or whatever it is. So that means maybe you need to have time budgets. Oh, it starts at 3:00. I'm getting there at 3:45 and I'll be there until 5:15, 4:45, 4:30. Maybe you only stay an hour. I try to give at least 2. And also, I would say set practical boundaries for yourself, because we also have another major holiday that's coming up. So when it comes to Christmas and flying and things of that nature, if you know that you're going to have to stay at somebody else's house and you don't have the money for a hotel or something like that, you can't afford to go. You don't even got to worry about people getting on your nerves when you get there. You can't afford to go. If you know that staying at a certain person's house just for the sake of family and just for the sake of being together or what have you is problematic for you, just say, you know what? I can't afford to go. Gas is high. The flights, they're high. Higher than Holiday Heart, mama. You know what I'm saying? Literally find your exit strategy, because some of you, I think, or it's like, oh, I absolutely do have the money to go. So let's say you got all the money in the world, baby. You're balling. You got the money to go. Do you have the emotional bandwidth to go? Do you have the recovery time to go? Because some of you guys go back to work on Friday after being with your family on Thursday or whatever day the holiday is at. And you haven't had time to recover. And hear me out. If you plan on spending over 48 hours in a place that triggers you, I would kindly suggest that you give yourself 72 hours to recover from the wounds of your inner child that may have resurfaced, or your inner teenager. I think we talk a lot about inner child work, but what about your inner teenager when those wounds starts to resurface? Or if you're on the other end of the spectrum, let's talk about your young 20s, because I don't feel like childhood, it might be the ADHD, but I feel like, okay, childhood not so bad, but the young 20s, it felt like the trenches of hell. I'm serious. But if you are in an environment that triggers either of those time points in your life, or let's say you're a little bit more mature in this lifestyle and you're in your 30s, 40s, the traumatics that you've had into emerging adulthood and adulthood are still valid. And if you are around people that trigger that, you need to have an exit plan and a recovery plan. And that can look like whatever you need it to do. What makes you feel like you come back to self afterwards? And how much time do you need? Because if you don't have 3 days minimum to recover from the 2 or 3 days that you spent with them, that might not be something that you can afford. Going back with your brain still traumatized is wild. Can you do it? Yeah, I believe in you. But should you have to? Absolutely not. No. Another thing I like to say is you can always avoid overcommitting. Let's say you guys have special families like mine. I got about 3 to 4 sides and a side that I almost married into one time, right? And I'm still very much in contact with all of them, right? Even the family that I will not share a last name with. My ex's mother is just like the sweetest human being, and I won't be giving her up ever. Shout out to Miss Mary, I love her. I won't ever be giving up her love. Literally never. And I would also check in. Also, I would have conversations and topics that are just off limits. For me, things that are off limits, asking me what I'm going to do next. Come again? I might even start speaking a different language. Now, everybody's not as assertive and probably as my personality is. So, there's definitely that. Other things that I would suggest. I wonder what that text is about. So I would have, again, this goes to identifying your boundaries, and this goes without saying is, just making sure that you limit conversations that you don't want to talk about. If you're the only cousin that doesn't have kids or, what have you, and you've decided to be child free, I wouldn't answer any questions about that. I don't care if you got to act like you can't hear. You can't. Next. What? You literally don't have to talk about things that you don't want to. I support you in that. And that's the last thing I would say. Another way that I make sure I honor my boundaries is I did this self-efficacy / self-legacy journal in grad school, and it really changed my life. It was, what do you want to leave behind? What are you okay with people saying about you or not saying about you? And it really helped me shape what kind of experiences I wanted to create for the holidays. And so for me, one thing I always want to create, as you heard earlier, is peace. You will not, I will not ever let you disturb my peace. That's not even an option. I would suggest you kindly find something safe to do. Because it wouldn't be to play with me. Anywho, so yeah, I definitely wholeheartedly believe in creating the type of traditions that you want to see. Do you want to see yourself happy? Do you want to see yourself on a beach? And also, I don't believe in traveling for a November holiday. That's so crazy. We got to turn around and see you next month. I won't be spending my coinage on that. You could never convince me to come again. Find you something safe to do, baby. Find you something safe to do. For real. Truly. Honestly. Something safe. Quickly now. And I surround myself with the things that I love. So one of the traditions that I gathered during that time was reading and creating. And I really love to read and to create. And so I always do some type of arts and crafts project. And I reread a Toni Morrison novel, or I watch her documentary or some of her interviews, whatever comes to fruition first. But a holiday is not ever complete in my household, wherever I am, whether I'm on the beach, whether I'm in Asia, whether I'm in the Caribbean. Toni Morrison has got to show up. And that is it. That is all. If you have some ways that you honor your own boundaries, I would love to hear them below. If you liked any of these tips, I would love to hear them. If you didn't, well, be blessed elsewhere. All right, you guys have a good one, and I'll be on with another video in the next few. Take care, and I love you. Peace and blessings.